Well, hey, boys and girls, it's your good buddy Dave from Kart Speed again. Now, I know. It's been a hot minute since I posted a video, and guys, I'm sorry. You know, sometimes life gets in the way. You know, your schedule gets hectic, but I know. So, hopefully, in the next few weeks, I'll be able to post a little more frequently because my schedule should be lightening up in the next few weeks. So, I decided to go ahead and post a video because, like I said, it's been a hot minute. And the subject we're going to cover today is tire temps. Now, I've had a lot of customers talk to me over last, I would say about 3-4 months, confused about tire temps, what tire temps mean. So I thought it'd be a good subject for a video because tire temps, I like to think are a direct result on how the chassis and your tires are performing on the track. A lot of people say that tire temps is how your chassis and your go-kart communicate to you about what it needs and what it wants, okay? So in this video, that's what we're going to concentrate on. We're going to talk about what higher temps mean, what lower temps mean, what it means when one tire is hotter than the other tire, and a couple things to look for. So without further ado, let's get to it. So before we get started, we got to define a term, okay, that is directly related and affects tire temps. It is friction. What is friction? Friction is the resistance between two contact surfaces or two relative contact surfaces, all right? So there's two different types of friction. There is static friction, which is like, for instance, okay, we'll keep it in tire terms, a car that's parked on a hill. That is static friction. The friction between the tire patch and the road surface, and they're not moving, okay? And that the static friction is the resistance between the two. Then you have a kinetic friction or dynamic friction, which is what we're going to really discuss here today. Dynamic friction is the resistance between two contact surfaces that are moving in opposite directions, okay?
Okay. Got it.
So when the go-kart goes onto the racetrack, your tires are experiencing dynamic friction, okay? And the two contact surfaces that we're going to talk about is the tire surface and the track surface, okay? Now, the faster the go-kart goes, the more the tires are the more lateral forces are applied to the tires, and the more forces that are applied will exceed the tire's grip threshold, okay, causing the tire to slide. This sliding effect, again, produces more friction, which then produces heat, all right? And that is really where the argument becomes between racers. A hotter tire means that the tire is gripping more, and some say, no, a colder tire is gripping more. Well, with the tire, when the tire slides, it will create more dynamic friction, and that more dynamic friction, a result of friction, is heat. So a tire that slides will then build more heat. Now, when you're looking at this picture, I know what you're thinking. David, why didn't you use red for the little heat symbols? Well, that's because I've lost all my color markers, and all I have are blue, green, and black. But back on topic. So a tire that slides creates more heat, okay? Now, here's what you need to know. That all tires, they all slide. Every single lap they're going to slide. Now, some slide microscopically where you can't see it. And others slide so much where it's visible where you can see it, okay? But that's how a tire builds up heat, all right? The more the tire slides, the more heat it's going to create, okay? So that means that a tire that is sliding is going to have more heat in it than a tire that grips.
Look out below. Yeah. Oh boy, that's hot.
David, how can I apply that, right? Well, that means that if you come off the racetrack and you take a barometer, well, you know, we'll get to that too, and you feel your tires, right? And the right rear is hotter than the right front. Well, that means that the right front has more grip in it, and the right rear is sliding more than the right front. Well, David, how is that happening? Because the right rear is experiencing more dynamic friction than the right front, causing it to build more heat. So I know what you're thinking. Well, David, hold on. What happens if we're at a really low bike track and the tires feel like they're ambient temperature when it comes off the racetrack? Well, keep in mind, a track that has this wet or low grip will then produce less friction, which will produce less heat. However, there are going to be tires that slide more than others, and you'll still be able to tell it through the tire temps. However, the results may not be as dramatic. Like, for instance, on a track that has a lot of grip to it, and the tire and the track surface is producing a lot of friction, you might see a 15, a 10, a 5-degree difference in the difference between tire temps. Okay? And the tire temps might be 20, 30, 40, 100 degrees hotter than ambient temp. However, if you go to a racetrack that doesn't have a whole lot of track surface grip and the friction is way lower, okay, between the tire contact patch and the track surface, well, then you might have one tire that's only 2-3 tenths of a degree hotter than other tires. But there still is a difference. And that's what you need to look at is what is the difference between all these tires. So, in summary, a tire that's sliding is going to produce more heat than a tire that's gripping, okay? So, with that knowledge, to apply it, if you come off the racetrack and you see that the right front is hotter than the right rear, then the go-kart is developing a push, meaning the right front is not gripping as much as the right rear. Or if the left rear is hotter than the right rear, then that means that the left rear is sliding more than the right rear. Okay? Or if the right rear is hotter than the right front, then that means the right rear is sliding more than the right front.
Lot more. Hey, boss, he ain't working.
Well, David, how can I tell these tire temps besides just feeling them on my hand? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So, there's a few different ways you can do it. This is what they call a tire barometer. Now, these barometers, how we used to check them back in the day, the go-kart would come off the racetrack and you would stand, and it comes with a little probe that mine kind of fell apart because I haven't used this in a long time. And when the go-kart come off the racetrack, you would take the inside, the middle, and the right side, or the outside tire temp, and you would average together, and that will give you your temps. Okay? The negative to this is, one, you got to make sure you get tire temps when the go-kart comes directly off the racetrack, because once the tire starts cooling, your data then becomes a little iffy, right? You want to make sure you get accurate readings, because if you don't get accurate readings, it kind of throws off the adjustments that you're going to make, all right? But I haven't used this thing in years, and the reason being is because nowadays, this is what we use on my race team, and a lot of race cars and professional teams are going to this type of tire temp reading. So the barometer will read tires when the go-kart is static, when it's come off the racetrack and it's stopped. These are onboard tire temp sensors. And the big difference in these is where that gives you one reading after the run is completed, these will give you readings while the kart is on the racetrack. Well, why is that important? Because now I can go back, if you pair this with a Micron 5, I can go back in a computer and I can look at tire temps of every inch of every foot of every lap. So now I can see, okay, the right front's hotter. Where did it get hotter at? Well, I can see it happen on turn exit. Or I can also see how well the tire cooled down the straightaway. These are really important. And the reason why is because newer tires now are starting to come out with synthetic rubber. Well, the positives of synthetic rubber from a tire manufacturer perspective is that it dissipates heat quicker. So the tire cools down more going down the straightaway, all right? Which keeps the tire in optimum temperature, which will allow the tire to work better over a whole run. The negative to that for racers is now that it makes it harder to use the pyrometer because now the tires are cooling down at a very rapid pace, okay? So with our race team, this is what we like to use because I can get tire temps in real time as the go-karts riding around the racetrack. All right, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I know that once you start looking at tire temps, you're really going to get an idea on how the go-kart is loading and using certain tires around the turns at certain times. It really helps you understand chassis dynamics and tire loading. And it also helps with your tire program. It helps you see how the tire reacts to chemicals, especially when you're using the onboard tire temp sensors when they're on the racetrack. Guys, again, I appreciate you viewing this or watching this video. And until next time, remember, race is tough. Don't be leaving no speed in the trailer.